Some had queued overnight, but eventually Trump supporters streamed into an Orlando stadium to hear the US president kick off his 2020 re-election campaign. Promising the mother of all rallies, around 20,000 people were there to hear the man they say has their interests at heart, tackling immigration and creating jobs.
Exactly 4 years ago this week, I announced my campaign for President of the United States. And it turned out to be more than just a political campaign. It turned out to be a great political movement because of you. A great movement.
Changing his former slogan, "Make America Great Again," to "Keep America Great," Trump sought to connect his first term to the goals he still hopes to achieve.
We're going to have over 400 miles of wall built by the end of next year. It's moving rapidly. Moving very rapidly. And you know, we couldn't get the wall approved by the Democrats, even though they voted for it 4 years ago and 6 years ago, and it's moving along rapidly. It's beautiful. I changed the design. It's stronger, bigger, better, and cheaper.
But not everyone welcomed Trump to Florida. According to polls, Trump is currently behind the top potential Democrat candidates in several key battleground states. However, Trump has dismissed this as fake news. Paul King, Euronews.
Well, for more on this story, let's talk now to political science expert Dr. Thomas Gift from the University College of London. Well, thanks for taking time to talk to us here this morning. Let me begin by asking you about what we just heard at the end of that report. Polls are suggesting that the president is currently behind the Democratic frontrunners.
That's certainly the case. Mr. Trump, for several months now, has been polling around 42 to 43% in terms of his approval ratings. And in particular, if you look at matchups against, potential presidential candidates on the Democratic side, he's trailing almost all of them, including Joe Biden, by about 10 or 11%. So he may dismiss that as fake news, but the polls don't lie.
Okay. And what might that mean in terms of the arithmetic for the election?
Well, I think it's still very early to tell. A lot of voters haven't queued into the election right now. So in large part, they're just making determinations based on name recognition. I do think it's the case that most people have their mind made up on Donald Trump. Either they like him or they do not like him. And so the key variable here, what could shift, is who the Democrats actually choose. Is it going to be someone on the more progressive Democratic wing of the party, or is it going to be someone who's much more moderate?
Well, last time around, of course, Donald Trump won a swathe of votes across so-called blue-collar voters. Are the polls suggesting that could be the same again this time around?
I think it's going to be much more of an uphill battle for Donald Trump, particularly if Joe Biden is the Democratic presidential candidate, because he really speaks to blue-collar voters in places like Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Ohio, and Michigan. And those are places where Donald Trump is going to need to win if he's going to duplicate his success in the 2016 election.
Okay. We also heard from the president saying that the wall on the Mexican border is being built really rapidly. Is that right, or is he stretching the truth?
Well, I think that this is typical Donald Trump. He's stretching the truth. I think it's kind of been a holding pattern right now as it makes its way through the courts. Certainly, though, immigration is an issue that Donald Trump is going to make a centerpiece of his campaign going into 2020. It's really an issue that he highlighted in 2016, and he's hoping that it's going to be a political winner again for him.
Okay. Well, it certainly seemed to be a political winner for him before, when he, took quite a few attacks on Hillary Clinton. That was a theme again last night. Some might say that, he's never really stopped campaigning since he took office. Can we expect anything new or different this time around?
Well, I think operationally, Donald Trump's campaign is going to be much different than what we saw in 2016. He has the entire Republican political machine behind him, and not to mention $40 million in a campaign war chest. He has considerable mobilization in key battleground states. He has an advanced analytics program. All of these things he didn't have in 2016, where his campaign was more of a fly-by-night operation. At the same time, when you talk about rhetoric, he's still going to emphasize the same issues. He's still going to stoke cultural divisions. He's still going to inflame tensions on immigration. He's still going to talk about trade, China, deregulation, and conservative judges. So substantively, I think his message is going to be very much on point.